welcome to the NANOG 83 Hackathon. This is our first hybrid event. That means we are finally back in person and online. I myself am joining the in-person location, which is taking place in Minneapolis. So Jeff, what is it like to be back in person?
It's been really great so far today. This is the first time I've really done any work-related travel since the pandemic started. So it's been great to get back together and see people I haven't seen in person in a long time.
What's been the atmosphere like at the in-person location?
It's been quiet. I mean, previous in-person hackathons, we've had the room filled with people. It's still a little sparse. We've got some people here in person and still a lot of people participating remote.
It being, like I said before, this is our first hybrid event. What has worked, what hasn't?
One of the changes we did this time is we had rather than try to do the introductory presentations and tutorials the morning the hackathon starts, they were done a week in advance to give people time to absorb the material and more time to form teams. When we did the virtual only hackathons, it was a lot to fit in. And so this gave teams more time to form and get ready for the event.
I mean, is that a big deal? It seems like that would be a big deal, like a big game changer.
I think it helped out a lot. And I think it's probably something we may consider continuing in the future for other hackathons.
Is there anything differently you would do next meeting?
Nothing that I can think of right now, but we'll have to look at the feedback we get from this event and see if we have any good suggestions from the participants.
And this is such a passion sport. What have you been most impressed about this NANOG 83 meeting?
I think just the fact that we had teams forming in advance. We had at least one team that came in with a very well-formed idea, and they were able to use that to recruit team members with. And I guess I'd like to see more of that in the future of people coming in with good, solid ideas for people to work on.
How did that help the process?
I think in the past at hackathons, people came in with an idea that they just quickly presented in a little minute presentation. This time having somebody come in with a well-formed idea that was thought out with some goals, I think probably helped recruit team members to their effort.
So I'm going to interview those incredible participants. Let me start with Kendall. Kendall, you're joining us virtually. Where are you at?
I'm in Seattle, Washington. It's a beautiful day here.
So what was the best part for you in this hackathon experience?
I mean, obviously, the access to the resources and all of the equipment and all the work that went into setting everything up. But I think the mentors were really fantastic. They really did a lot of preparation. I didn't have to do a lot of interaction with them. I was trying to figure some things out on my own. But it was really helpful to know that they were always available if I needed some additional assistance.
What did you find most challenging?
I'm fairly new to a lot of the tools and the applications and the stuff that is available. So there was a lot of learning for me, but I was very excited about that. I had a really great time. I worked all night on this. But you know, trying to get used to some of the environment and some of the techniques and how things work. I found the firewall operating system a little clunky, but you know, I made my way through it. But it was great.
And you mentioned that you were up most of the night doing this.
Yeah. And I also appreciated the fact that I was at the meeting last week when they kicked this off, and having extra time to set up my environment and get prepared and do a little advanced work, I think was really helpful. So I could spend more time concentrating on this throughout the weekend.
So what would you say to someone who hadn't ever experienced hackathon?
You know, if you can do a little bit of research, do a little bit of preparation ahead of time. But either way, just reach out, make an effort and show up. Don't be afraid to ask for help. People are great. No matter what level you're coming in at, there's something that you can do to participate, and you will definitely learn something.
All right. Awesome, Kendall. Thank you so much. Great words of advice. Don't be afraid to ask for help. I would love to talk to somebody who is in that hackathon room. Jeff, could you point me to the next person? So Leo is a NANOG 83 hackathon participant. Leo, how did it go for you?
It went very well. This is the first hackathon I have ever participated in, and I was well supported by people at NANOG and also by colleagues at PeeringDB, and we got a result, and very happy with that.
And how did that support help you along your journey?
Well, basically, I didn't know how hackathons work, and so I came up with, this is what I think might be needed, and I went and asked people, and I was told, yes, sort of that, and maybe refine this, and I came up with some test cases ahead of time, because I thought if I was a developer, and I'm not a software developer, but if I was a software developer, I'd probably want to know whether my code was working or not. And so I came up with some test cases, and some of them were a little bit borderline, should we go with this way or that way? And that was more towards product feature design, I suppose. But that's sort of fine, because this isn't a formal product development environment. This is an environment to make things better and to test. And so it's absolutely fine to go and say, well, do we want it to go like this, or would it be better to go and do something else? We definitely solved at least 90% of the problem, probably 99% of the problem. And we've got a couple of little tweaks that we might work on for the final version that gets integrated into the release. But we have come up with a genuine improvement that's going to make the lives of everyone who uses PeeringDB better from now on, and I think that's great.
How does that feel?
It feels really good, because I didn't come up with the idea for what the problem was, but I helped put the structure in place to make sure that the developers could be as successful as they could possibly be. And they were very successful, because they not only solved our problem for PeeringDB, they also found a bug, and we were able to get the bug fixed. So that's two benefits. And as I think I mentioned, it was the first time that we had volunteer developers use our development environment, and they empirically tested it, and the code is good, and it's going to be integrated into release. So that means we now know that volunteer developers can use this environment successfully. Doesn't mean that it's perfect, but it's workable. And we know that we've got to make some improvements to some of the documentation that goes along with it. And we will go and do that. And next time we go and do a hackathon project, we'll have better documentation to make the lives of volunteer developers easier.
Do you have any words of wisdom for what you said about finding workable solutions rather than perfect solutions?
We came with a relatively small thing to achieve, which meant that we were able to achieve the whole thing over the weekend. And that meant that there was room to go and put a little bit of time into doing something which could go one way and could go another way. And it was fine to go and say, well, we'll go like this. And then in the future, we can go and make changes if we need to make changes. If I was to make a suggestion, I would suggest that relatively small projects are something that you can do in a quick amount of time, and you can have a little bit of time to change your design and still have something that is going to deliver a result that can go to production. If you go for something big, then it's more challenging. That doesn't mean that big projects shouldn't come to a hackathon. I mean, this is my first hackathon. Who am I to be an authority? But you know, it's more challenging to do something really big vision. This was a tight vision. It meant there was room to play around.
My name is Charles Rumford. I'm a network engineer for an MSP out of Chicago called def.com.
So you are joining us in person. What is it like to be an in-person participant?
Being an in-person participant, it's a little weird. The first day working out of my actual hotel room was a little strange, but it's been great. The second day as part of the hybrid event, being in a room with people, being able to interact with people has been really great.
So what did you find most challenging?
I think starting with the end of last week when we had our introductions, figuring out what to work on was probably the most challenging. I'm not the most adept software developer. And so I was trying to find something that was both functional and fairly simple to very quick to work on. And that took a little while until a meeting at work this week that was like, oh, that I should write that.
Why did you choose the topic that you chose?
We've had a couple of events, network events at my job that there's some information that would have been great to have that we didn't have. And so I wanted to write something that we could collect that information and be able to query it in a reasonable fashion.
And as mentioned before, this is the first time that we've started the hackathon a week early. How did that work for you?
It was really great to know what resources were available to us for the actual duration of the hackathon, and what the expectations were, and being able to mingle with other people who were doing the hackathon to figure out what to work on or what projects were available. I've done other non-NANOG hackathons in the past, and getting all that information on the day of and then having to rush to figure out what to work on is quite annoying.
I can imagine. So what did you learn about yourself during this process?
I think the biggest thing for me is making sure I'm editing the right file when I'm figuring out what when I'm trying to configure things. I think the other thing is and this is an event that's kind of helped me reaffirm this, is that I like working with people and being able to interact with people and being able to query people of different knowledge bases and expertise to be able to aggregate all that together into a product.
All right, great talking to all the participants. Michael, can you please close us off?
Yeah, I'd like to thank all of the participants, both in person and remote. I especially want to thank our in-kind sponsor, Amazon Web Services, who gave us credits for running the virtualized infrastructure that we were able to provide to our participants. And with that, we were able to run Nokia and Arista routers for them to be able to do their IPv6 and other work on.